There's preseason games going on around the NBA tonight. There's one in Boston, and that's where we find our friend Sean Deveney from the Sporting News. He's there at that game. Sean, thanks for carving out a couple minutes for us.
Yeah, I had to snap myself out of the nap I was taking during this game. That's how thrilling it's been, but happy to be on with you guys.
Yeah, you got to want it bad to be hanging out at preseason games in your position.
Well, especially if it's Philadelphia and Boston.
That's
the way these two teams are shaping up.
I watched a couple minutes.
No, it's good to.
There was no defense the first 10 minutes that I watched. Did they start trying to stop each other later on?
Well, what was happening is there wasn't much defense, but nobody could make a shot either.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a bad combination. But hey, it's the first preseason game. It could only get better from here.
Sean, let's start off with the news from earlier today. Now you're at a game and you're around some other media types. What's the buzz been about the new TV deal? I mean, how big could this potentially be? And, of course, the place that a lot of people went to when they learned about a deal that was thought to be maybe double turns out to be almost triple the previous, and $24 billion is, okay, now what does this do in 3 years? How will this affect Michelle Roberts and Adam Silver as they have their first challenge? What's been kind of the buzz you're hearing tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of excitement around the league, and you talk to agents, and certainly they're pretty happy because this is going to be a much bigger pie that they're dividing up with the owners. But you do get into some problems too, and that is, okay, how do you exactly divide it up? This was something I talked to the former executive director of the union, Charles Grantham, before this deal came out, but he said one of the things that you've got to pay attention to is what do you count as a revenue stream, right? So all that money that counts as revenue, that's all what the players and the owners divide. But if you can find things that you don't count as revenue streams, then that money all goes to the NBA. So some of this is going to be like really in the weeds, sort of how you define all these things, and that's really going to be interesting to see. How Michelle Roberts and Adam Silver get along in terms of determining these things. I think that'll go a long way to telling us if they'll have a better relationship than what we saw from Billy Hunter and David Stern.
Since you're watching an Eastern game, all this new money coming in, billions, will it help the East?
Potentially.
Run at the West?
Yeah, I mean, it will certainly free up, teams that have already positioned themselves to have cap space are going to have that much more cap space. Now, we don't know exactly how this is going to be implemented. They don't want to have it just all of a sudden be dumped, so that the salary cap doubles from 1 year to the next. They do want to ramp it up a little more slowly and a little more realistically than that. So it's hard to say exactly how it's going to affect it, but certainly teams that have had cap space, teams that have sort of positioned themselves well, will be in even a better position to go out and try to get some free agents.
Sean Deveney from the Sporting News, our guest here on Trailblazers Courtside. Sean, speaking of the East, is it? And this is a general question that everybody's asked, but the thing in Cleveland now, the big three there. How do you see that playing out? I mean, are you, in your mind, looking at this as, it's basically Cleveland's to lose? They're almost being – people are conceding the fact that they're going to win the East and be in the NBA Finals. Is it that cut and dried at this point?
Yeah, I would say so. I think maybe if Indiana hadn't lost Lance Stevenson and had Paul George suffer that leg injury, you might say Indiana. But, you look around – it's hard to see, maybe Chicago, maybe Washington, but it's hard to see any team that's really going to be as good as Cleveland. I'm sure they'll have some ups and downs early on, especially as they try to get used to each other, try to get used to a coach who's never coached in the NBA before. I'm sure there'll be some of that. But when you look at the rest of the East, I mean, who else is really a threat? There's really no other teams you consider, finals worthy. So, I would say that Cleveland, I wouldn't automatically anoint them in most years. It's just that the rest of the East right now is not very good. So it's hard to say who would challenge them.
With that said, looking at the West, Denver, if they get all their guys healthy, New Orleans, they've added, if they're healthy, Phoenix will, they're going to try to get. So there should be 11 teams trying to get to the playoffs. So have you selected your 8 teams from the West that are going to make the playoffs yet?
I haven't quite done that yet, but it is. You're right, because you're right. Well, you never know what's going to happen in terms of injuries and stuff, so I have to wait a little bit for that. But no, I mean you're right, and I think some of the teams actually got better. So a team like Dallas was the number 8 seed last year, but I think if Tyson Chandler stays healthy, then they're going to be an even better team. And the 3 teams that you mentioned. Certainly Phoenix. It's going to take, 48, 49, 50 wins again to get in the playoffs at all in the Western Conference. It's really going to be tough. I think anybody who suffers, a really unfortunate injury is probably going to be knocked right out of the picture altogether. So it is going to be really, really tough in the West.
Sean, we always enjoy checking in with you. We'll continue to read you at Sporting News, and we'll have you on back again soon. So go catch the rest of that ball game. We know you're dying to get in there.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Sean Deveney from the Sporting News, our guest here on Trailblazers Courtside. He's in Boston at the Boston-Philadelphia preseason game. Plenty of good seats still available.
And at halftime, I'm sure there were even more available.
Perhaps. I mean, it is an exhibition game. Not every city gets $14,000 for a free scrimmage, let alone a regular season game.